Hi, today I'm going to show how to get started with Azure for free for students. Students get $100 free credit to use over the 12 months. It's a fantastic learning resource as well, so you can use that. And there's a whole load of free resources you can use, throughout. It'll always be free. So this video, we're going to show you how to get started with that. We're going to have a demo of going through the process with a real student account as well. We'll show you how to get set up with DevOps as well as creating a web app, and we'll take a look at the Education Hub, and we'll also talk about optimizing your workloads to save costs and budget alerts as well. So I've been working recently with some students at Peterborough ARU, or ARU Peterborough in the UK, and we've kind of set this video up to just show how to get started for free. And we're going to be working on some modules and training with those with the teams there. So if we get started, so how do we get started? I mean, the first thing to do is just do a search for Azure for Students, and you'll find out whether on your favorite search engine, whichever that may be, and it'll take you to the main page, which is going to look like that. I do have that page open as well, so just bring that up here. And you can see from here, there's a lot of information and links here as well. So you can get started with this link here. You can scroll down and there's lots of information that can help you here as well. So, starting with the type of workloads that you can build and a whole list of free resources. So even if you've used your $100 credits, there's still a bunch of free resources, specific SKUs of things that you can use for free. If you click this link here, you'll see that in the demo later, there's a whole list of things that are there for free, so you can get up and running um, and get up to speed with that stuff quite easily. Further down, you've got the links to Microsoft Learn. There's a whole learning path, and depending on the different areas that you're interested, and we'll show that in the demo as well. And also some of the terms and conditions as well. You can renew after another 12 months. Um, FAQs and a bunch of other resources there as well. So we'll go back to the slides. Okay, so see, these are some of the totally free resources here as well. So we take a look at these in a bit more detail. So you've got app services, functions, Cosmos. All these services are free, so you can get started and build these, and we'll build a web application in the demo as well later. I will also set up the DevOps. You don't need a credit card for any of this kind of stuff. Here's a list of some of the free products that we saw on that page as well. But I would recommend you do add your credit card details as well, because there's a lot of things that are free that are just not available with that Azure for Students package. One of those things is Azure Virtual Networking. So if you want to learn about networks and also create any virtual machine type things, you're going to need a network, and that won't work on the free resources. So it won't cost you anything, but you do need to set your card up to be able to use these resources. So that's something that you should do anyway, and then keep a track of your costs, or just stick to the free costs. Here's Azure DevOps. So we'll show you the URL. So once you get started, you'll be able to look for Azure DevOps in the Azure portal and get started that, create an organization. And you can use that to, practice, setting up tasks and boards, project management, and also code libraries and repositories for managing and working with code as well. Okay, some of the free resources that are really useful. The VMs, so you get this kind of spec here. That's always free. Virtual networks are always free, unless you start adding the DDoS standard DDoS protection. But without that, it's all free. There's also something called NSGs, network security groups, and that's kind of layer 4 firewall rules, and they're also free. There's a SKU of the virtual private network gateway, and that's also free as well. Now that GW1 is not going to be available for much longer. See our Azure site-to-site video for more details on that. So I'm not sure what's going to happen to that one. The SQL Server functions and Azure Policy and Update Manager, so you can use that for that understanding governance and access control and those kind of things as well in here. Okay, so you can also go straight to this URL here and get started from there. Give you some tips here about optimization. So in order to optimize, so you've got your free subscription, you've given your credit card details, And what you should do is then learn to just make sure you don't keep things running on the platform because they may start costing you if you're using anything other than the free resources, especially. So make sure you can just once you get familiar with it, try understanding templates and scripts. So you could even use PowerShell, Bicep, Terraform, those kind of things to deploy your resources all in one go. So once it's saved as a script, you can then just deploy what you need, and then you can also just tear it down when you finish using it, and then just redeploy it when you need it. Therefore, you're saving costs that way as well. You can also use things like Azure Functions or Azure Automation to go and clean up these resources on a schedule. So you could potentially have a script that just runs every night to go around and delete all your resource groups, for example, but especially when you're training at the end of the day. You've also got shutdown options as well, which you can automate for VMs and those kind of things, and also just recommend deleting things if you don't need them. We'll also show you in the demo coming up in a moment on budgets and alerts, how to set those up so you get alerts to notify you when you're coming up to reach your budget for that month, whatever you set it to. Okay, so let's go to the demo here of the account. So as I mentioned, we used a real student account. It happens to be my daughter, which is also, her name's Leah, which is the L in LA in it, by the way. So let's just flip to that. So here we are just searching for where to go. So we find the Microsoft Azure for Students page. Go through the terms, and there you can see some exclusions. So there's things like marketplace and express route and those kind of things you can't actually use for free. And then what you do is just put in your details, your address details, email, date of birth. And what we've used here is or the student used their ARU academic student account. So it's kind of linked to a student domain already. So it kind of knows. So if you're using an outlook.com or something, you'll need to verify your academic status as it shows there. And I'll send you some emails to your academic account as well. So just do that and go through the verification process here just to make sure you're a real person. And then what that will do is confirm and set up your account and just ask you to decided to just record this and play the whole thing through and just show it in progress because there's a lot of articles that show you this is what you need to do, but not actually show you it working. So we thought we'd set this up and try to hide the details as much as possible. Provide your feedback on the setup. Okay, so then going to open up the Azure portal for you and take you straight to the Education Hub. And from there, you should be able to see your subscriptions. So it's going to create you an Azure subscription. You might have to wait a little while for that one and just refresh it, give it a few seconds and you refresh it, and you should see your Azure subscription. And that is kind of your container for where you can create resources inside Azure. So everything belongs to a subscription, which is like a billing boundary. And in there, you can see any resources that you've created, or you can go and create a new one. So in this case, we'll create a new resource group here. And just call it a test resource group. And a resource group is another container to create your object. So a resource group is just another way of organizing your as your resources. And you'd normally do that by a service, for example. So if you've got a web application that needs some web apps, a VM, database, and those kind of things, and it's all working to the same for the same service, you'd put that into a resource group. So that's kind of a starting point there. And here's a list of some of the all the free resources that are available if you go further into that link as well. So you can see there's quite a lot of things you can have a play with and start getting familiar with. And what we'll do is we'll take a look at the Azure DevOps as well to show where you can store and manage your code. Okay, so if we go back to the portal We'll do a search. We'll go and look for a virtual network, for example. We'll create resource, virtual network, and we'll show you what happens here. Even though it's a free resource, it's going to ask for your payment details. So I suggest you go through and fill this bit in, so you can get the best experience. Head over there. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is look for DevOps. We'll set up the Azure DevOps instance. So first you go to do a search for Azure DevOps and it'll take you to your organization. It'll just ask you a bit more details about your name and email address, and then it'll take you to set up an organization. And that will give you your URL for Azure DevOps. And we'll see that in a moment. So we need to create an organization. And we won't go into too much detail. We'll just go through the setup here so you can see that's the URL you'll get, and you can change that. And that'll take you into Azure DevOps. And as I mentioned, you can use that for your code repos, for example. And we'll show you just where that is, and then just link it up to Visual Studio Code, for example. So we'll create a project here as well. And then that's where we can start storing our boards or repos or pipelines and those kind of things. And here we're just going to click on the repo and then clone it in VS Code. So we've got a copy of the code locally, and we can start doing some training around our code. So make sure you've got Visual Studio Code installed. First, point to which folder you want to store all your Visual Studio Code, and then you'll see add it to your workspace here, and then it'll show up inside your tree. In this case, ours is called training-1 because we already had another one called training. So all your code can go in there. So as you start writing code and creating code, save it in there, sync it up, and it will all get synced into the back end, which is your DevOps repo up here. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll take a look at creating a web application. So remember, that's one of the free resources that we can create, and we'll just do a search for create web app, and we'll create that web app here. Notice you only get the free SKU, so the web apps have different SKUs, like free, basic, standard, and premium. So we're just going to use the free one, and we'll see some of the limitations with that as well. So the name needs to be globally unique. So you need to can't just call it my web app. As it says, as you can see, it's given a URL, which is a globally unique URL. So as it's a shared platform, you need to give it a unique URL. Choose your locations and what kind of code stack you want it to run on. And just choose West Europe in this case, for our example. I'm just going to create it. So a web app needs to exist inside an app service plan. So it's going to create a plan, and we can see the pricing plan is there, it's free. And we're not going to do any of the advanced networking or anything on this one. So we're just going to create the web app, and you'll see it's going to provide us with a public URL, and that URL is going to be accessible. And what you need to do then is kind of upload your code to that web app, so then your application will start running inside this as your web app, which means you're not managing or setting up a virtual machine for the web application. You're just uploading your code to this resource, which is a PaaS resource, platform as a service. So they're just providing you with a web application, and you just deploy and provide the code and manage it that way. Okay, once that's done, it will turn green and say go to resource. So we've gone to the resource group there. We can see our app service plan. So that's where it's hosted. And then if we do a refresh a couple of times, you'll see the application turn up. And if you hit on the my web app and give it a minute, and you'll see the URL in there. And that's your web application with the default code already deployed. So it's not really doing anything. This is your container. You can now use that deployment center, for example, and then deploy your code to that application. And if we go on the left-hand side, you'll see all the different options that we've got. So there's a whole load of configuration options. So we can use our scale up settings, so looking at the spec of those plans, and also scale out, looking at how many instances and those kind of things we can set. Now, as we go higher up, you can be able to set up all kinds of custom rules for number of instances and scaling, automatic scaling, and all kinds of things, as well as some of the security settings and a key one is custom domains as well. So you can't do that on the free version. So you'd really want to move to one of the higher plans and just use that for your training. So and here we would need to use one of the higher plans to be able to set up custom domains. With that, you'd need to verify that domain with your ISP or wherever your DNS is stored. And then you can have your own custom domain and also add certificates and those kind of things in here as well. But for this free account, we just get this free thing just to help get started. So that's where I recommend putting your credit card in using the very low standard version, so you can then start understanding all the features once you start getting used to the free stuff. Okay, let's take a look at the Education Hub. So you can search for that. And inside there, there's already some free services, links to free services, templates, link to training materials and those kind of things. So we've got templates there at the top for some of the free services and also free software that's available as well. In terms of training, you can look at the different roles, what kind of roles you're looking to do. If you're an AI engineer or DevOps engineer, it will take you to learning paths in Microsoft Learn for that. And also some of the free links to download Visual Studio Code and various other things as well. You can also look through the learning catalog there. All this is basically links to Microsoft Learn, easy way to access it and look at it via the different roles of the user persona. You can also look at the templates here and actually use these templates that are already pre-provided, and you can deploy them automatically. So you just click on deploy, it'll ask you to check your authentication sometimes, and then put in the details. There's already screen set up. So we're using my account now. And then in there, you provide the information that you need, and then it'll go and create the resources that you need using the templates. So it's just a nice, easy way of deploying resources without having to go through the menu or any code yourself. These are just like quick start templates. You also get access to GitHub for Student Developer Pack as well, and also Copilot for GitHub is also free now to point. So these are some of the courses that are available on the Learning Path. So if you go into any of these, it will take you to the Microsoft Learn site. So if we launch that, it will take you to Microsoft Learn, and it'll take you through the course details, all the modules and everything. And these are all free, and you can use this to learn about the platform as well. What we can do is set up budgets and alerts as well. So if we look at cost management, we can go through alert rules and add a rule in here. We're just going to give it a name. You can see that set up budget alerts here. And we're going to set up an amount. In this case, I want to know if it gets up to a percentage of my actual spend. So I know when I've put a limit in of £60 or something, and then in that, when it gets to 90% of it, it's going to send me an alert. There are also ways to automate things as well. So you could send your alert to an action group, and that action group will then, you've got the ability to kick off a run book or do something in Logic Apps to go and do a task. But in this case, in this demo, we're just going to set up alert for that spend. If it gets into £65, up to 90% of that, I'm going to know about it. So that can be really, really useful to protect you from, sometimes accidentally leaving things on, for example, and you'll know about it, so you can manage your costs a bit easier that way. Okay, so I hope that was useful. We just went through, how you can use your $100 credits. There's a whole load of free resources, but to get the most out of it, use your credit card, and so you can unlock a lot of the other services, the very cheap ones or the free ones, including virtual networks, which is really important. We've shown how to get started, how to set up your DevOps environment and create a web application. Took a look at the Education Hub and also Microsoft Learn, and talked to me about a little bit about optimization and setting up those alerts. So hopefully that was useful. If you get stuck or anything, drop us a message on our YouTube channel. and yeah, one of us will get back to you, and hopefully it's a good start to help you get kicked off with Azure, and yeah, give it a spin and see how you get on, and use a lot of that free training material. There's also things like virtual training days, it's called. Microsoft provide like half-day sessions which include some training and a free exam as well, and I think students get discounted or free exams as well. So those are also very, very valuable and very useful. So strongly suggest you check those out as well. Okay, thank you very much for watching.